And I am here with the legendary David Humphreys, better known as Hump The Grinder from Detroit, Michigan. You know, I've been following you for quite some time, and I was just wondering, like, how did you come up with the name Hair Wars?
Well, somebody actually whispered it into my ear at the nightclub back in the early 80s. We were doing a show in the nightclubs, hairstylists. It's like early days before it officially was called Hair Wars. A girl whispered in my ear, "You got a hair war going on." And it stuck.
Okay.
Juana Davenport, I'll give her credit. She whispered in my ear that night. She said, "You have a hair war going on." And I didn't have a name for it. We were just messing around in the clubs showing hairstyles.
Okay.
And it stuck. So I made it legal.
Oh, so when did you make it legal?
Well, actually, I didn't make it legal until 1994. So I never know. I didn't think it was going to really go far. It was just one gimmick in the parties. It wasn't planned. It just happened. And I rolled with it.
Okay. So, how long did it take when you was creating Hair Wars? How long did it take for you to lock that name down? Like,
well, it took a little while. I mean, really, like I said, it was informal in the clubs starting in the early 80s. 1994 is when I realized we were going on the road with the show. I better get this registered trademark and patent, and get the papers in DC taken care of so we can legally have this name. So Jim White helped me out back in LA, Jim White Enterprises. He's from Detroit, but he's out in Hollywood now. He helped me out, get all my paperwork together. So, that's when it started. When I knew that we were going to be on the road with this thing, it wasn't just in Detroit anymore.
Okay, so Hump The Grinder, how did you come up with the name Hump The Grinder?
Well, I'm from a family of humps.
Okay.
Humphreys would be my last name. We're all humps. Big hump, old hump, granddaddy hump, all kind of hump. I'm the grinder because I was playing music as a DJ, grinding out the jams. Other people thought it meant something else, like a male dancer or something with a name like that. I used to play music for the male dancers, so they thought I should be a dancer with that name. I said, no, I just play y'all music. I'm a DJ. I keep that name as the grinder, grinding out the jams. But actually, there's another part to the name I don't use anymore. Back in the college days, where I started the name in 1975.
Okay.
I went to college and I had a radio show. David Humphreys doesn't sound entertaining. So it was Hump The Grinder, the Sweet Spot Finder. That's my young year.
Oh, wow, that's hot.
Yeah, I cut that part off, but I still hear every now and then. Like at the show we just had, somebody, "Hey, Sweet Spot Finder." I look, they go back. They go way back to the 70s.
Oh, wow, that is so interesting. So, Hump, tell me all the other names that you have, because I know I call you Hump Be Grindin', Hump The Grinder,
People call me everything, Humpty Dumpty, the Monkey Grinder. I've heard everything, so I put the Grinder. They just call me, hey, I'm cool with that too.
Okay, so when you created Hair Wars, how did you come up with the concept of having hair stars and hair entertainers?
Well, it came from the nightclubs, doing parties. Like I said, the whole hair thing came from doing gimmick parties. I had like you have the hat, you've been in my hat night party, sombreros. We had all kind of the perfect booty contests. I had some wild ones, and hair was just a gimmick that was gonna last 4 weeks. Hairstyles, a lot of hair people used to come to my parties. So we have them all during the week and stuff. It didn't matter what day, because hairstylists make their own schedule. So it was like, okay, hairstylists, you're gonna get 4 weeks, sign up, and you're gonna show your stuff to the people at the parties. Because they had nowhere to advertise. The hairstylists, really, the only place they could advertise was like on their porch or in front of their salon or something. They needed a platform, and the clubs was perfect. Because people go out to nightclubs, they get their hair done on a regular basis, and they can pick up new clientele. So that's how I started. Just the idea of hair people, showing off what they can do to advertise, to get new clients. And people started signing up. The list got so long, I said, well, we're going to have to extend this. And who knew, 37 years later, that people still signing up.
Oh, wow, that is so amazing. So, I know me, myself, starting to do, when I started with Hair Wars 32 years ago, and I remember you told me I had to have a name. What's up with all these names?
Well, you got that name. It's entertainment.
It's entertainment.
Entertainment, baby. That's our little slogan we use because, some people still have regular common names, but the names stick out a lot. People remember them, especially if they're unique. And then you got to look that match the name, like colors. Originally it was Calling Me Vic, Mr. Calling Me Vic, but that's a name that gets people's attention. They want to know what's behind that name. So I would come up with different names for different people because they maybe didn't have a name. So they'd ask me, come up with a name for me. So I made up a few names for people.
Well, I know you made up my name for me, and can you reiterate on how long did it take me to figure out my own name after you named me?
Not long. All you have to do is look in the mirror. That's pretty natural for you.
Okay.
Try to get a name that fits the person, I'll give you an example of one name that I did make up because Lil Willie's daughter, Liz.
Okay.
She said, I need a name. She came to me to ask me for a name. I said, well, tell me a little bit about you. What she kept saying, people love me. And her name was Liz, so I said, your name is Liz Love. And spell it different, L-U-V. So that's how she got her name. But there's been other names, but names are important because they stick with people. You got to market them, you brand them something.
Okay.
Brand your name. And you could change it, like from Mr. Vic, Mr. Calling Me Vic to colors. But the color's still in there. And looking at yourself, you still keep it colorful. So that's a cool name. And people don't forget that.
Right. Well, thank you. So, with these shows and people coming, one thing I do know about you, Hump, you do never have a late show. It always starts at 6:05. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, 6:05. I needed a time that was different. People ask me, why you start the show at 6:05? Because you asked me. That's why. It looked different. It was a conversation piece to a lot of people. And I got those times from watching, I'm a basketball fan, like NCAA basketball tournaments. They had these weird times. 7:03, 7:06. And I used to look at the clock to see if they really started at those times. It was pretty accurate. So I said, I gotta get a time people gonna remember it. Instead of 6:05 having to be our staple time. And we can't be late.
That's right. And if you're late, what happened?
3 acts, spent a lot of money. Flights, models, hotels, and they didn't go on. So when they came back to Detroit, people asked, how did you do? I didn't go on because I was late. And that was kind of embarrassing. Some people didn't talk to me for years, but I got my respect. And people had to respect the time. We used to get late, models come late. Usually, late fees were $5.
Right.
We used to make $1,000 on late fee. That's 200 late models. Now, I think the last show we collected $10.
Oh, wow.
So it's 2 models late out of 250.
When did you decide to take Hair Wars on a U.S. tour?
After being in Detroit for like over 10 years, doing shows in Detroit, first at clubs and moving to bigger venues, but everybody kept saying they want to go to Hollywood. We got stuff that Hollywood is made for Hollywood. So the first trip was in 1994. We went to Hollywood. But it's a catch to it. We didn't just bring the show there. We had I had Carl Reed, a hairstylist that was doing classes. I said, man, I need to take Carl Reed to California and just kind of break the ice, get the chance to meet some people, see if they want a show. So usually when we do seminars, which is always before the show, it could be a year before the show, we would come in the city and we say, hey, would y'all like to do this? And we show them a video of Hair Wars in Detroit. And the city that said yes, then we took the show. We went to 25 cities doing classes. And this is before Hair Wars started, the actual show. And then people seemed to like it. LA said, this is for us. So that was the first city we went to.
Oh, okay. So what was your favorite city?
It was Miami. Because we would charter a boat on Saturday, do a boat party, before Hair Wars, and then we do an after party, usually at the South Beach at a club. So Miami had more action because they had their water and they had the boats, and we did the boat parties, after parties. South Beach was just hot, and everybody was looking forward to going out to Miami, and We did Miami a few times. We did the High Regency downtown for a few years. Then we did the Wyndham one time. But Miami's always hot because Miami people could perform, and we liked that because they had a lot of skill, a lot of talent. LA didn't have the skill level of doing hair, but they had the performance part. They that's Hollywood. They were performers. They had contacts. They had resources that make stuff look good on film. So, but LA overall is my favorite, but Miami has to be a close second.
Okay, so I can't remember what year, but we did the Apollo show. Can you tell me about that?
Apollo was great because I always wanted to do something there, and it was very expensive, but it didn't matter. It was hard getting people in New York to participate in their own city show. Apollo show basically was around everybody from around the country. A lot of Detroit, California, and other cities. Columbus, it was a skit, had a salon team. And other cities came. We had two from New York. We had Dave Ray, who's still hanging out. He was at the last show a few weeks ago in Detroit. He still participates. And Veronica, the Purple Lady, who passed away, she was in that Good Hair movie with Chris Rock. Them two, and then we had that party the night before the Apollo at Veronica's shop.
Right.
In Beauty Rama, I believe, and it was a media party. You were there. So everybody brought some different looks. So I got a chance to see a little bit of the hairstyles before the show at the Apollo. But the Apollo was like the biggest media attraction we had. We had like 46 media requests. New York Times, Daily News, American Salon, Life Magazine, I can go on. It was a whole bunch of people that wanted to cover the show. Because when we got to New York, they were saying, well, where did this come from? We're from New York and we didn't hear but nothing about this. How did we miss this? I said, because y'all not from Detroit. That's how y'all missed it. And it was good. It was the first crowd we had that had a lot of white people at the show. Usually been an all-black audience. Apollo was the first one we went to. And we advertised in New York on the radio. That was very expensive. The marketing in New York is expensive on radio advertising. But I had to do it. I didn't care what it cost. We had to do the Apollo. We had to do it right. And then we got a lot of attention from that. I think we were the only hair show that's ever been done at the Apollo. And another story about the Apollo, that stump that they rub on?
Stump rock or whatever.
They told me that we couldn't use it. It was locked up. They only use that for amateur night. And nobody uses that except for them. I said, look, man, I put them to the side. This guy was running the production. I said, man, it's very important. A lot of people came just to rub that stump. And if the stump ain't there, we're going to miss something. So, man, could you please, he unlocked the door and put that stump out. And so, yeah, the Apollo was a really good experience. The next night, Rod Stewart had a concert there. I went to it. They had a couple of seats for me. So I went to the Apollo, went to a Rod Stewart concert. He said he had never done the Apollo. This was his first time. He had been to the Apollo and said one day he's going to perform here. And that was the night after Hair Wars. It was being broadcast via satellite, so they had the big old trucks outside with they put it on the feed. It had a live feed for Rod Stewart. And that was it was a very tight seats at the Apollo. Last time when I would sit down in the audience, there were little seats. I think they were made for little people. You had the red carpet outside. So yeah, the Apollo was something we had to do, and we pulled it off.
Yes, we did. It was the best show I think we ever did.
The Battle of America's Hair Entertainers. That's what we call that show.
So let's talk about the Queen Mary.
That was unique too.
In Long Beach.
Long Beach, the Queen Mary. It's a historic boat or ship. They said don't call it a boat. It's a ship.
Okay, it's a ship.
That's right. And we had cabins and we stayed on the ship. KTLA, Channel 5 in LA, they came out and covered us the morning of the show. They came and brought their crew down and they interviewed a lot of people, seen some of the hairdos, and they really pumped it up. That was a real cool show. Definitely VIP. We had standing room VIPs we were selling because it's LA. And they were like, how do we get down there with the VIPs? We don't want to be with the regular people. And I said, well, it's LA for you. So we said, hey, we made up, the night before, we were getting a lot of calls. LA, the VIP section sold out. So I made some VIP passes that said standing room, VIP standing room. There was a whole bunch of people in the VIP section standing up watching that show because they didn't want to be with the regular people. It's LA.
Right.
Yeah, we had a good time, though. It was definitely a different type of show, setup. Being on the ship, we had 3 floors. You could see the show from 3 levels. And we had a good time. Then NBC came down and did a special. They interviewed you, too. In LA, covered that show. And a lot of people seen it, so it was a really good event.
Okay, Hump, let's talk about the excitement with the big hair, because I know Hair Wars yourself, promoting big hair, you wanted this big, hair to display. How did you come up with the concept?
You see regular hair every day in the salons, and this was an opportunity for a hairstylist to go beyond anything they ever done. It's like, it's unlimited. The sky's the limit, really, as far as what you can make. And the bigger, the better. Because when we started doing TV shows, talk shows, they wanted big too. They were pushing me to get it bigger. We wanted it bigger. When you're on TV, a big style might not look so big when it's on the screen. So you gotta make it bigger. Everybody was bigger.
Right.
So we had to go like off the screen big. And I talked to a lot of stylists, one-on-one. We had conversations about how big can you make it? Can you make it odorized? Can you make it move? Can you make it flash with colors? And those are the things that we try to develop along the way to make hair different looking and big, and then have people like Ripley's Believe It or Not. They covered it because we had something different and it was big and it wasn't out there, in the mainstream. They had conventions where they had hair fantasy competitions, but nothing was in the mainstream for the public. We made it public. We making stars out of these people, hair entertainers. And you want to be a real hair entertainer, you had to have big hair, because all these talk shows, they were lining up for us to come on, and we had to come up with some stuff, or they wouldn't call us back.
So you talking about talk shows and media and all that. Can you let me know what media coverage you like?
Well, some of this stuff right here, media coverage. It started really.
What's your favorite?
Well, the first one, it has to be the favorite because they kicked it off the Wall Street Journal.
Oh, wow.
The front page of the Wall Street Journal with a middle column article. It's like the main kind of article in the Wall Street Journal is a middle column. They do a big, thick hardcover book of all middle column stories, and we're in that book. It's about Wall Street Journal was 1996. They came out with that story. This guy that I met, he's from Detroit. He wrote the article and made the front page. They had pictures of the hairstyles. It was really, really cool. So once that came out, Dayline, NBC, CBS Morning News, people started calling it from talk shows. Jesse Raphael, we're going back a little bit. Did E! Entertainment, Extra, then Queen Latifah, Tyra Banks, and America's Next Top Model. Both of those shows we've done. And then Ricky Lake, we've done probably 10 episodes on Ricky Lake. So we kept moving with all these talk shows, and then production companies started getting with me about a reality show, which was crazy because I wouldn't do anything they wanted me to do. That's why we never did a reality show.
Oh, okay.
They wanted us to be fools.
And you didn't want to be one?
No, I could have made money for a couple seasons. And then they went on their way with something else. We've been canceled. Because what they wanted, and then they wanted to own my name. And I would have to ask them to use Hump The Grinder. Can I use my name? The contract was so crazy. I still got them, about 8 or 9 contracts that I saved because they were so ridiculous that I had to just put them to the side and hold on to them. Don't sign them, but just say this is what the people were trying to do with us. And that's why I didn't care about reality shows. Because I know if we did reality shows and made a little money initially, then it would have been diluted, watered down. It wouldn't have been real anymore. So that's the media. But otherwise, the media did good for us. And we did shows. Our first talk show was Carol and Merrill. It was in LA, and it was styles weren't really that big. They were big enough, and they had special effects, and they were even better. But I learned from that, watching that show. You gotta get it bigger. And we would crash shows. Sometimes we wouldn't even guess until we got there, like the Keenan Ivory show. You were at that show too.
I sure was.
They let us wear our gear, our Hair Wars stuff, and we had about 50 people. Tracy iCard hooked that up from LA. She got us a whole bunch of tickets, and we went down and bought the hairpieces in duffel bags. You know, Keenan ends up putting on the hairpiece. You know, and so sometimes you had to crash the show if you're not in it.
Right.
You know, we got on, like, you know, Sinbad's show. You know, we got on when we wasn't guests, but we ended up being guests because we know how to crash the party. Bring them hairpieces, they'll do it all the time.
Right. So what you think is the tallest hairpiece have been built in the Hair Wars tour?
Probably Califio.
Califio?
Very high rise. He got on KTLA News in the morning in LA with that piece. But the anchor had a big head and it cracked.
Oh, wow.
On the top, and she had to hold it, so it looked like it wasn't made properly, but it really was. It's just her head was too big.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes you gotta make a piece for the model. You know?
Right.
Sometimes you got peanut heads, you know, you got big heads. So you gotta put all that in the factory. Who's gonna wear this piece? But that was probably the tallest, was the hairy high rise.
So would you say, what, about 8 feet?
No, not that tall. More like about off the head, 4 or 5 feet off the head. Yeah, different styles, all the way, you know. Yeah,
so they ain't riding in the cars and in the vans with these pieces,
you got
are
a sunroof. You could slip in there
Okay.
on top of the roof and slide down into the seat. But otherwise, no, I've seen big hair pieces. You had to run a van, slide them all sideways into the van. If you're gonna have the piece done before you get to the venue. Otherwise, you bring your pieces, you know, and you set it up backstage. You gotta make sure that backstage ceiling is high enough. Now the Apollo had a short ceiling, so we had to pick up the models and carry them through sideways. Some of the models couldn't fit, you know, the hairpiece was too tall. So then some guys would hold the models and put them sideways through the door to get to the stage. So it was hairpieces. You got to think about the height and the room that you're putting it on. It has to be like the show we had in Dearborn, Michigan. You know, hairstyles and high cars. They have a high ceiling. And that's why it works. Some places I go to, the ceiling's too short for the hairpieces.
So you really have to make sure that these buildings that you leasing to do the shows, the ceilings have to be tall enough.
Riser, depending on how tall the riser is, you got to put that in the count too. How the height of the riser and the height of the ceiling. I've seen some beautiful places I couldn't do air seals at unless you were sitting down. The models would crawl on the floor. You know, so they have to, you get certain factors are definitely you got to take, you know, consideration if you want to do a show with big pieces. And all our shows usually have big hair pieces.
Hump the Grinder, it's been so great talking to you. But right now we have to take a break, keep it locked on the spot, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to On the Spot. I'm the world famous Colors, and I'm still sitting here with the legendary Hump the Grinder. Hump the Grinder, tell me about how you can become a hair entertainer.
Well, you gotta have that look, first of all, and you have to have some skills to entertain the audience. You know, this is not a convention or a seminar, this is entertainment. So to become a hair entertainer, you have to have those things, you know, where you have to look like yourself, and you can make the crowd make some noise, make them react, entertain them. It's like a sporting event, you know, people react, they cheer, they hoop and holler, and that's what we look for in a hair entertainer.
Okay, so how many hair entertainers with that look that you have on a Hair Wars tour that is really, really different?
Throughout the years, we've had several. It's been, you know, there's been some people that are really, really like stars, you know, and they have big egos too. That's part of being a hair entertainer. You have an ego, because you know you're all that. And when you hit that stage, you know, that stage is yours. You command it, and the audience reacts. Like I say, when you come out there and you know how to put skits together, you know how to keep the people's interest. You know, hair entertainers does it all the time. Have people on the edge of their seats, have them make a noise for you, and they'll remember who you are. You might have a certain look that you have, but being a hair entertainer is not just being just a regular person that can do hair well, and that's what we look for.
So how many shows have you done with Hair Wars, would you estimate?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I've never really sat down and counted them, but I would say probably about 400 to 500.
400 to 500 shows? Oh, wow.
We got old videos, we got old DVDs, and we're still making them. But not as many as we used to. We used to do, well, 15 years, we did 10 cities a year, you know, and before that we did other shows here and there, so they add up. It's a lot of shows. And a lot of people still asking, could I find a certain show from, they don't know what year it was, or what building it was in, but I'm supposed to find it. So anyway, it's kind of hard to, I don't have the library, you know, like every show, every year, or every month. That, I'm kind of winging that. I've got to go do some research to find out, you know, who's in what show, but it's about 400 or 500 shows.
There's one other question I want to ask you, and we didn't touch on this, but we have a hair history book. It's called Hair Wars. Can you tell me a little bit about that? I know 12 stylists hit that book.
Yeah, it was
Hair entertainers.
It was called Hair Wars. It was produced by Powerhouse Books in New York, Brooklyn, New York. David Yellen was a photographer. He came. I met him at the Apollo because his girlfriend was writing a story for Life magazine. That's how I met David Yellen, the photographer. So he traveled with the Hair Wars tour for about 3 years, capturing the images in that book. And it's a coffee table book. It's a really big book. It's $40 a book. It's a real good book, but it's raw and uncut. It's not airbrushed. These people who shot the pictures in that book, they didn't realize it was going to be in the coffee table book. They just started with 2 pictures for it. You know, it could be a local newspaper. But he had the big, you know, the big camera stuff, and he did some really, really good work. And when he put the book together, it sold all over the world. So it's a collector's item, and you're on the back cover with your mohawk style. Yes, your work is in there.
Yes, I was so excited that my mohawk made it on the back. I was like, yes.
You can find that book through Amazon. People sell the used copies. I don't think any more new copies are available, but you can still find that book around.
So if you want to participate in Hair Wars, how do you sign up to participate?
Well, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is email me, hairwars@yahoo. That's hairwars@yahoo.com. That's my email address. Or you can call, if you want to call, the number is 248-470-5183. And also we have a website that you can go through, www.hairwarsustour.com. So there's different ways, and really, it's simple. You know, we don't know what you're going to do, but if you sign up, we think you're ready. And it's up to you to back it up. So, you know, we welcome everybody to be a part of it. If you think you got it, then step up. Because we're looking for some new hair entertainers, especially the younger generation. Because, you know, these hairstyles are dying and retiring.
Yes, they are.
As we get old, you know, the hair people, we've been doing it for so long, and we're trying to get this new generation to step up and try to hand them the torch so they can continue with hair entertainment. They can go on forever. But they got to do the work. You got to put the work behind it.
When you say do the work, how much work to get to that point?
Well, some have to work harder than others. But the whole thing is you have to have that passion. And it's not anything to take lightly. You have to put your all into it. And you can, you know, I can help you get out there, but you gotta work yourself. You gotta do your part. You know, and it works, and then we can get you going and let people around the world know who you are, and you can have merchandise you want to sell or whatever, just to get out there. And people making money, we do all the side stuff. Besides Hair Wars, we do projects where companies are spending a lot of money on these hair pieces that they want something different, and we can give it to them. So, but if you got the talent and the skills as a hair entertainer, hair artist, you know, you can sculpt your hair pieces and get money. So it's another option of a hairstylist making money outside of behind that chair. And we try to give them an opportunity to do that.
Thank you, Hump the Grinder, for being on the spot. And I would like to thank the audience also for watching. If you would like to be on the spot, please contact us at 614-844-5150. Or you can contact us at marcorecords@gmail.com. Thank you for watching On the Spot.
On the spot.